Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm Lewis from Recycle Bicycle Sales, and today we're gonna run through the 5 easiest and simplest things you can buy to upgrade your riding experience. Every upgrade that we're gonna talk about today is a contact point in one sense or another. Whether it's a contact point between you and the bike or between the bike and the road, they're all contact points worth thinking about. So you've got 5 contact points between you and the bike, and then 2 contact points between the bike and the road. I think they're some of the best upgrades that you can do to improve your riding experience, to make it more comfortable for you or safer when you're riding. The first thing that I want to talk about is padded shorts. I think padded shorts are going to make the whole ride so much more comfortable. I was saying before that we've got 5 contact points with the bike. You've got your 2 feet, your 2 hands, and then your bum. So much weight is sitting on the saddle, is sitting through your butt. Not saying that you're heavy or anything like that, but nonetheless, it's a big contact point with the bike. So having a padded short, some people might call it a chamois, but it's more or less the same idea. We'll have this material in here. This is like a piece of foam, or maybe like a microfiber or something like that literally sits up against between your butt and the saddle, and it just makes the whole ride more comfortable. If you don't have one of these, you can eventually get chafing and all these other problems that can come down the track, and it's not very comfortable. That's the first thing I think you need to do, padded shorts. But included in that, we could also talk about a saddle, because these are the 2 parts that are touching each other. Maybe you have a wider pelvis or a narrower pelvis. Maybe you're a female, or maybe you're a male, or maybe you want a lightweight saddle, or maybe you want a more affordable saddle. There's a lot of different saddles you can try. So you should definitely test try a whole bunch of different saddles, widths, thicknesses, materials. You'll end up finding what your body finds comfortable. They're the first thing you should upgrade on your bike. To work out how wide your sit bones are, the actual pelvic bones that you're sitting on, you can always go to a local bike shop and they might have a tool that can measure it, and that should tell you exactly what width saddle you actually need. There's also some tricks you can do at home, like sitting on cardboard, for example, and measuring the distance there. A little bit inaccurate, but it will give you more of an idea as to whether the saddle you're currently using is completely wrong for you. While we're talking about contact points between you and the bike, we can talk about your hands. Things like maybe finding some nice comfortable gloves. These ones here are more of like a warm glove. You might find some that have no fingers, and they're more of a warm weather glove, just keeping your hands safe. If you were to ever hit the road, you can get maybe gel or foam or something in the actual pads of your hand. That could make it more comfortable. But you could also replace either your handlebar tape or your hand grips. Your hands are taking the full brunt from the front end of the bike. Every bump that your front wheel hits, your hands are feeling it. So if you've got nice, soft handlebar tape or hand grips, that can make the ride so much more comfortable. Every time you're steering, you're pushing your wrists into it a little bit. It really is a comfort factor, upgrading your handlebar tape. On that as well, eventually handlebar tape can begin to rip or tear or unstickiness itself. Eventually you'd get almost like a throttle lock kind of thing, where the handlebar tape can undo itself. So if it's getting worn out, it's probably a worthwhile upgrade as well, for not too much money either. Another important contact is your feet. Your feet are an important part of what can help you control the bike by leaning it. So we could talk about upgrading to, if you're using flat pedals, you could go to perhaps a more mountain bike orientated flat pedal. These ones are cool because they've got these long pins here which help dig into the bottom of your shoe so your foot can't slip around as you're going over bumps. They're a really worthwhile upgrade. But if you're on the road bikes, you might be looking more at moving across to the clip-in pedals, a little bit like this. And then you can have more control over the bike, a more efficient pedal stroke. Your foot's never gonna be in a different spot as you're riding around. Honestly, this will help you enjoy the ride so much more, because you're not thinking of every time you leave the traffic lights, oh, where does my foot have to sit? It will always go to the exact same spot, so your body can get used to it as well. Your feet are an important contact with the bike. I'd strongly recommend upgrading to some nice pedals. Lots of people are a bit nervous or unsure about moving across to clip pedals. If you would like a bit more of an in-depth video as to some tips to move across to clipless pedals, let us know in the comments below, and maybe we'll make that happen as well, because I think they're a really worthwhile upgrade, but it can be a bit of a mental hurdle to get across into the clip pedals. Let us know if you'd like a video in the comments below. Moving away from the contact points, we can look at a handlebar or a stem perhaps. The handlebar and the stem are the parts that connect the front end of the bike to the frame. So the handlebar, we can upgrade to perhaps something like a carbon fiber handlebar, moving away from an aluminium handlebar. Carbon fiber has different attributes to what aluminium or perhaps steel might have, the 2 metal options there, in the way that it's a little bit more I'm not gonna say flexible, but it's able to absorb the vibrations in the road a little bit more than what an aluminium or a metal handlebar could. So that can make the whole ride more comfortable. But adding on to that as well, carbon fiber is significantly lighter than aluminium. So now the front end of the bike feels lighter. The center of gravity is a little bit lower on the bike, so it might be easier to go around corners, easier to control the bike going down the hill, things like that. You could maybe replace your handlebar because you want it to go either narrower or wider, or you wanted to maybe get a flat handlebar, like an aero top. There could be a whole bunch of different reasons that you might want to change your handlebar. And I'd say a very similar thing for the stem as well, which is the piece that connects the two there. You might go to a longer one or to a shorter one, or moving up to a carbon fiber one to make it, again, more comfortable. Lots of different reasons why changing the front end of your bike might make an adjustment. You don't have to do both at the same time. You could do one and then save up to do the other. If you were to move to a longer stem, you'll find that the distance from the seat to the handlebar now gets further away. You might find that more comfortable. You might find that less comfortable. Your body will know what your body needs. You can go closer or you can go further away. You could perhaps even flip the stem over to bring the handlebars a bit higher, or flip it back down the other way to bring the handlebars lower. Lots of different things you can do in regards to the stem and the handlebar, or in general, the cockpit of the bike. If all goes well, the only part of the bike that should actually touch the ground is only the tire. So they're an important contact point with the floor. You can get two different options. You can get wire bead, where the tire is a solid piece like this, tends to be more on the budget side of things. Or we can look at a folding bead tire, where the tire obviously folds down nice and small like this. So the first one that we have is a wire bead tire. Wire bead tires are excellent from a price aspect, and they tend to last a little bit longer from what I find as well. More common on like your hybrid style of bike or an entry-level road bike. If you were looking more for performance, you might move across to perhaps a folding bead tire. The folding bead tires tend to have like grippier rubber. There tends to be more options in regards to width. They also have tubeless options if perhaps you were looking at going tubeless. But I suppose there's three main things that you look at when you're upgrading your tire. One would be how much performance you want to get, and that can be pretty closely tied with what price you want to pay. You can also look at how much puncture protection that you want. You can also look at different widths. You might look at a 23mm tire, 25, 28, 30, 32, whatever size that you need, talking about different widths. Before you just buy the width of tire, make sure you find out what tire size will actually fit on your bike. Some bikes will only be able to fit up to a 25mm tire, and if you were to go too big, it will burr on the frame. Talking about performance, we can look at tires that maybe have a grippier tire. Often the high performance tires tend to wear a little bit faster as well, because the rubber there is a little bit softer. If you were to grab your fingernails and try and dig it into the tire, some tires feel incredibly soft. I know that I personally like to use this tire here, and it's an incredibly soft rubber, but I've found that it does tend to wear out faster than most of the tires. The other issue there is that often high performance tires are a little bit more expensive, but if you're looking for performance, unfortunately, money follows that a lot of the time. Puncture resistance is the second thing that we spoke about there. We can talk about maybe a little thorn that might go into the tire. If you've got a thicker rubber, first of all, thicker rubber is going to last longer because it's thicker and it's stronger and it's perhaps a little bit more of a solid material to it. So it might last longer, but also it means that it's harder for an item, whether it's a thorn or a nail or a screw, to actually pierce through the tire. So better puncture protection will also help improve the experience of riding a bike, because you don't have to pull over to repair it all the time. Another thing to quickly mention here is that we can go tubeless on a lot of road bikes as well, or even mountain bikes as well. Tubeless will allow you to run a slightly lower tire pressure, which will also make it more comfortable. It'll mean you can have more grip, all this sort of stuff. But on top of that, as a puncture preventative measure, it will have some sealant sloshing around inside the tire instead of the tube, which will clog up the hole from the inside of the tire if you were to get a puncture. If you were looking at going tubeless, make sure that somewhere on the box or somewhere on the tire, it says something along the lines of tubeless, whether it's tubeless, TL, TLR. I know that on this particular tire, it says TLR, but on this particular tire, it does not. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something about different types of budget-friendly upgrades. If you think there's anything that we missed or somebody else watching this might want to know about, let us know in the comments below. I reckon we've summed up some important things talking about the contact points between you and the bike, and then some of the contact points between the bike and the road. I think that they're two of the most important things to make the cycling experience a little bit more fun and enjoyable. Otherwise, again, if you think there's anything we've missed, let us know down below. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. See you guys.